One thing is very clear. The Indiana Fever is America's team. And boy, the haters, by the time this season is over, their heads are going to have exploded already. They're going to be so angry by the end of this WNBA season. I mean, it's going to be hilarious watching the daily meltdown.
Caitlin Clark isn't just breaking records. She's changing the entire WNBA landscape. Teams like Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Dallas, Las Vegas, and Washington are moving their games to larger venues just to accommodate the Caitlin Clark effect. Meanwhile, you can bet Angel Reese is scrolling through her phone, frustrated that her name isn't on those billboards. And A'ja Wilson? She's probably tweeting about respect again. Clark isn't just playing basketball. She's headlining 41 nationally televised games. That's not a schedule. That's a coronation.
Caitlin Clark is going to spend all of next season playing in NBA arenas. We've got rival fans being furious that, you know, Caitlin Clark is that she's getting new arenas, getting moved to new arenas. You've got people saying that they're pushing the Fever. Why are they pushing the Fever?
Let's take a moment to appreciate this. WNBA teams are willingly leaving their own home courts just because one player is coming to town. That once unthinkable day has arrived, and it's all because of Caitlin Clark. 6 franchises are upgrading to NBA-level arenas just to accommodate the demand. As a result, every Indiana Fever game, home or away, will now take place in venues that hold at least 15,000 fans. Not as a gimmick, but because Clark is a one-woman sellout machine. While much of the league continues to play in arenas that resemble high school gyms, Clark's presence alone demands an NBA-sized stage. Let that sink in.
There are 6 WNBA teams that have moved their games to NBA or NBA-size arenas.
WNBA. Teams aren't just making small venue upgrades. They're making major moves to NBA-sized arenas. The Atlanta Dream is shifting to the Hawks State Farm Arena. The Chicago Sky, who spent last season hyping Angel Reese as the main attraction, are now going all in with not 1 but 2 games at the United Center because Caitlin Clark is coming to town. Meanwhile, outside of those Fever matchups, Reese won't be playing at the United Center at all. Even the Las Vegas Aces, home to superstar A'ja Wilson, are booking T-Mobile Arena just to handle the Fever frenzy that Clark is bringing. This isn't just hype. It's a full-scale takeover.
Atlanta Dream moved 1 game to the State Farm Arena. Chicago Sky moved 2 games to the United Center. Home of the Bulls, home of the Blackhawks. In Atlanta, by the way, that's the home of the Hawks. Connecticut Sun moved 1 game to TD Garden, home of the NBA Celtics. That's going to look really freaking cool on TV.
Hilarious is that just last year, these same teams were downplaying Caitlin Clark's arrival, acting like it was no big deal. We don't need her, they said. The league is already thriving, but actions speak louder than shady subtweets. Now they're not just rolling out the red carpet for Clark, they're repaving the entire street.
Dallas Wings have moved 1 game to American Airlines Center, home of the Mavs and the Stars. Las Vegas Aces have moved 1 game to the T-Mobile Arena, home of the NHL's Golden Knights. And the Mystics have 2 games moved to CFG Bank Arena. All right. 6 teams have all moved their home games to ones with larger capacity.
Deserves a special shout out for this one. They don't even have an NBA arena nearby, but for Caitlin Clark, they're packing up and heading to Boston. Yes, an entirely different city, just to host the game at TD Garden. You know your impact is massive. When teams start outsourcing their home games to other zip codes. Now imagine if Angel Reese tried to pull the same move. They'd be lucky to get upgraded to the high school gym next door.
We're now at the stage where Caitlin Clark is probably going to be responsible. I'm not joking when I say this. For like games where she plays in are probably going to be responsible for like 30% of the attendance in the WNBA.
And it's not just them. The Dallas Wings and Washington Mystics are hopping on the Caitlin Clark train, too, moving their Indiana matchups to bigger arenas with more seats and even more dollar signs. This isn't a coincidence. It's a full-blown league-wide blueprint. Caitlin Clark comes to town, and suddenly, it's not just a basketball game, it's a fundraiser for the opposing team. Some analysts are calling her the WNBA's walking stimulus package. Honestly, that's not even a joke. It's just facts.
Teams that are going to average 3,000 fans at games, but have 17,000 fans when Caitlin Clark shows up to town with a fever.
So where are the haters now? The same people who were complaining about the hype are suddenly real quiet as their arenas sell out and their ratings soar. All thanks to the one player they didn't want to acknowledge. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is probably still fuming that her so-called unrivaled championship didn't even come close to this level of attention. And A'ja Wilson. She's busy dropping cryptic tweets while her own team scrambles to relocate.
Phoenix Mercury play in the NBA arena. The Seattle Storm do. There are 13 WNBA teams, 7 already playing NBA arenas. The other 6 are moving their games to NBA arenas versus the Fever. You can't acknowledge that she is the needle mover. Yeah.
Before Caitlin Clark's rise, WNBA games averaged around 6,000 fans. But Clark? She's out here packing 20,000-seat arenas like it's nothing. That's triple the usual crowd. Fans aren't showing up for just any team. They're coming for her. Even league execs have admitted they'd rather sacrifice home court advantage than miss out on the Caitlin Clark cash grab. This isn't just a hot ticket. It's a gold mine in a jersey.
A lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
WNBA attendance spiked by 48% last year, and guess who carried that surge on her back? Caitlin Clark. Teams aren't just adding her games to their schedules, they're building their entire seasons around her. Take Las Vegas, for example. The Aces didn't just move one game, they shifted multiple matchups to T-Mobile Arena just to handle the Clark effect. The same Aces who act like she's not a threat are booking bigger venues every time she comes to town. The irony writes itself.
Now we've got some more information on the games and some perspective. Here we are. Indiana Fever put this out, man, just a few minutes ago. All eyes on us. 41 of our 44 games are on national television.
If you thought the arena changes were wild, the TV coverage is even crazier. Caitlin Clark is set for 41 nationally televised games this season. 41. That's more national airtime than some entire WNBA teams have had. In the last decade combined, ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBA TV, they're all scrambling for a piece of the Caitlin Clark pie.
The most television games in franchise history, the most national television games in for a single team in WNBA history. How about that?
Last season, the Indiana Fever shattered viewership records across the WNBA. Now, they're the crown jewel of the league's broadcast schedule. A few years ago, they were an afterthought, struggling to win games. Now, they're the headliner. And that's got to sting for players like A'ja Wilson and Angel Reese, who probably assumed the spotlight was theirs for the taking. Instead, they're watching Caitlin Clark steal the show, break the ratings, and book the primetime slots. Clark didn't just boost attendance, she flipped the entire WNBA broadcast model. Her games consistently hit the million-viewer mark like it's nothing. Now networks are in an all-out bidding war, scrambling for Caitlin Clark content like it's Black Friday at best.
This also just came out. This is the national broadcast schedule right here against the Sky. It's an ABC broadcast network television game. New York Liberty. It's a CBS game.
ABC didn't just want any Fever games. They specifically demanded the ones against Chicago. Because let's be real, the Clark-Reese rivalry is television gold. CBS locked down the Liberty matchups, while ESPN made sure to grab the Aces showdown. Because nothing says must-see TV like Caitlin Clark going head-to-head with the league's so-called super team and potentially dismantling them in the process.
These are all going to be big-rated games. CBS against the Sky, ABC against the Liberty. So you're seeing the teams that move the needles that they're going to play. That should draw some ratings anyway. I'm not going to say these other teams move the needles because they really don't.
Continues to dominate headlines and hijack the league's spotlight. There's a growing frustration simmering beneath the surface. Games that don't feature Clark are becoming harder to find in prime time. Veteran stars, Players who've spent years grinding, building their reputations, are now watching from the sidelines as Clark gets center stage again and again. And let's be honest, they're not thrilled. Can you blame them? Imagine putting in years of work in the league, only to watch one player land 41 nationally televised games, while your own team barely registers a blip on the sports media radar.
Bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away at points.
The WNBA's initial marketing strategy didn't do the league any favors. Last season, they tried promoting a variety of players, essentially handing out participation ribbons. The goal? To balance attention and keep egos in check. But fans weren't buying it. They tuned in for Clark and skipped everything else. The data was undeniable and the league had no choice but to adjust. Suddenly, it wasn't about balance anymore. It was about giving the audience what they demanded. More Caitlin.
The WNBA needs to do everything they can to promote Caitlin Clark. And I'm not saying do it at the expense of anyone else. But they went into last season basically trying to promote anyone but Caitlin Clark for I don't know what reason.
WNBA finds itself in a very awkward spot. They need Caitlin Clark. Her games drive ratings, sell tickets, and keep the league relevant in the national conversation. But every time her face pops up in another primetime slot, it only deepens the divide between her and the rest of the league. It's a tricky balance, because right now, Clark is the show. And everyone else? They're just trying to keep up.
Basically tried to do it to promote anyone but Caitlin Clark. And that made no sense. Because for the long-term growth of the league, you can't just promote one player. But promote Paige, promote Caitlin, promote rivalry.
Predict that at least one of Clark's games this season could surpass 4 million viewers, putting her in the same stratosphere as top NBA broadcasts. That number alone is enough to make marketing executives drool, but it also underscores just how far ahead Clark is from her so-called rivals.
That is literally what they should be doing. You should be promoting every single player in this league, but not. And again, don't promote Caitlin Clark at the expense of the league, but also promote Caitlin Clark. Promote everyone more. Promote Caitlin Clark constantly. Promote all these players constantly. Promote rivalries constantly. Promote these big games constantly.
And speaking of rivals, remember when Angel Reese tried to claim the face of the league title back at LSU? Yeah, about that. Those dreams have gone up in smoke. The Clark versus Reese rivalry the media tried to manufacture completely evaporated. One look at the national TV schedule says it all. Clark isn't sharing the spotlight. She is the spotlight. What we're witnessing is the total collapse of the co-star narrative that Reese's fans pushed last season. That storyline disappeared faster than morning dew. The networks and fans have made their choice crystal clear. There's only one main character in this story.
America's team. Yeah, guys, I mean, let's just be honest. This is exactly what they do in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. All right, this is exactly what they're going to do, and they do every year with the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Because they draw ratings.
This latest shift in the WNBA spotlight has to sting even more than the bricks she throws off the backboard. She spent her college career branding herself as the next big thing, the face of women's basketball. From viral moments to endorsement deals, she fully embraced the idea that she was the game changer. And her fan base? Oh, they backed her every step of the way, insisting that Caitlin Clark's success was nothing more than a media-manufactured phenomenon. But now, the silence from those same voices is deafening. As arenas are being restructured, venues upgraded and marketing budgets rerouted, all in Clark's direction, it's clear who the real game changer is.
I'm sure this is because of Angel Reese. That's good. That's really good. Seriously, no.
Just imagine what it must
is
feel like for Angel Reese
real.
to watch her own team, the Chicago Sky, ditch their regular home court for the United Center, but only when Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever come to town. They're not making that move for her. Nope. It's not about Reese's popularity, performance, or presence. It's purely about Clark. That's got to sting. The Sky might as well be the undercard for the Caitlin Clark main event, playing backup in their own city whenever she shows up.
Get the point. All the Sky games are on big networks. All the Indiana Fever versus Sky games are on big networks. The Aces game, like I said, is on ESPN. The Liberty games are on big networks, the games against the Liberty. So, and there's a lot of Ion on here.
Even more awkward. The Chicago Sky's social media team is still trying its best to push Angel Reese as the franchise centerpiece. TH.
How many of these games, guys, one of these games is going to hit 3 million viewers this year. All right. I don't know which one. I assume you can look at the Sky and look at the Aces, those two games, and think those are the games that could, in theory, break 3 million, maybe more than that. The All-Star game, of course, did a massive rating. What is it going to end up doing this year? So it's all going to be very interesting.